Last Tuesday afternoon, a 67-year-old woman named Patricia walked into her country club in Greenwich, Connecticut, feeling perfectly fine. She'd just finished her usual bridge game with friends, laughing about something one of them said, when suddenly, without any warning, her knees buckled beneath her. She collapsed right there on the polished marble floor of the club lounge. Her friends screamed. Someone called 911. Everyone thought it was a heart attack. Everyone was certain this was it. But here's what shocked the paramedics when they arrived, and what shocked me even more when I reviewed her case 3 days later. Patricia wasn't having a heart attack. Her heart wasn't blocked. She wasn't having a stroke. What was happening to her was something far more insidious, something that had been building silently inside her body for months. She was having a severe reaction to her blood pressure medication. The very drug that her cardiologist had prescribed to protect her heart, to keep her safe, to give her more years with her grandchildren, was actually destroying it from the inside, cell by cell, beat by beat, and she had no idea. Now, I know what you're thinking right now. You're thinking, wait, that doesn't make sense. Blood pressure medication is supposed to help. Doctors prescribe it every single day. Millions of people take it. How could something so common, so trusted, so ordinary be dangerous? And that's exactly what Patricia thought, too. That's exactly what her husband thought when he picked up her prescription from the pharmacy 6 months earlier. That's exactly what most people over 60 believe right now as they swallow their morning pills with a glass of orange juice, trusting that they're doing the right thing for their heart. But here's what I need you to understand, and I need you to really hear me on this. I'm a cardiac surgeon. I've spent over 2 decades standing in operating rooms, holding human hearts in my hands, seeing things that most people will never see, learning things that most people will never know. And when I discovered what was really happening with certain blood pressure medications in older adults, specifically in people over 60, it kept me awake for 3 straight nights. I'm not exaggerating. 3 nights, lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about all the patients I'd seen, all the cases I'd reviewed, all the people who trusted their doctors, trusted their medications, and ended up in my emergency room with hearts that were struggling, failing, shutting down, when they should have been thriving. And the worst part? The absolute worst part that makes my stomach turn every time I think about it? Most of them had no idea. They thought they were doing everything right, taking their medication exactly as prescribed, never missing a dose, being responsible, being healthy, being good patients. But their bodies were screaming warning signs that they didn't know how to recognize, that nobody had taught them to look for, that their doctors never fully explained could happen. So, right now, if you're over 60, if you're taking medication for high blood pressure, if you have a parent or a grandparent or someone you love who fits that description, I need you to give me the next 3 minutes. Just 3 minutes. Because what I'm about to share with you could literally add years to your life. It could prevent you from becoming another Patricia, collapsing when you should be enjoying your retirement, playing with your grandchildren, traveling to the places you've always dreamed of seeing. It could be the difference between you living independently and vibrantly into your 80s and 90s, or struggling with heart failure, constant doctor visits, and medications that keep piling up on your kitchen counter. 3 minutes, that's all I'm asking. And I promise you, by the end of this video, you will know exactly what questions to ask your doctor, exactly what warning signs to watch for in your own body, and exactly how to protect your heart in a way that nobody has probably ever explained to you before. Because you deserve to know the truth. You deserve to understand what's happening inside your own body. And you deserve to make informed decisions about your health, not just blindly trust that everything will be okay. So stay with me. Don't click away, because what comes next could save your life. Let me tell you more about Patricia, because her story is probably going to sound frighteningly familiar to some of you watching right now. Patricia actually lived in Atherton, California, one of the wealthiest zip codes in America. She wasn't just anyone. She was a successful real estate investor who'd built her business from the ground up over 30 years. Sharp mind, active lifestyle. She played tennis at her club 3 mornings a week, had a regular golf game on Saturdays, traveled extensively with her husband. This was a woman who took care of herself. She ate well, stayed active, never smoked, rarely drank. Her annual checkups were always pristine. Perfect health record. Year after year, her doctors would tell her, "Patricia, you're doing everything right. Keep it up." Then last year, during a routine physical, her doctor noticed her blood pressure was creeping up. Not alarmingly high, but enough to warrant attention. 145/92. Her doctor, a well-respected cardiologist at Stanford Medical Center, someone with credentials that would impress anyone, decided to start her on medication. The drug was Metoprolol, a beta blocker that's prescribed to millions of Americans every single year. It's one of the most common blood pressure medications on the market. Trusted. FDA approved. Used for decades. Her doctor explained it would help protect her heart, reduce her risk of heart attack and stroke, keep her healthy so she could enjoy her retirement years. Patricia trusted him completely. Why wouldn't she? He was a Stanford cardiologist. This was his specialty. So she started taking it religiously every morning, 50 milligrams, never missed a dose. And here's where things started to go wrong in ways that were so subtle, so gradual, that Patricia didn't even realize what was happening to her own body. Within 6 months, her heart's pumping efficiency had dropped by 30%. 30%. That's not a small number. That's catastrophic. But she didn't know this was happening because nobody was measuring it. Nobody was checking. She just knew that something felt off. She couldn't play tennis as well anymore. By the second set, she'd be completely exhausted, gasping for air, having to sit down on the bench while her friends finished without her. She told herself she was just getting older, that this was normal, that everyone slows down eventually. Her golf game suffered too. Walking 18 holes became impossible. She'd get winded halfway through and have to take a cart. Then came the swelling. Every single evening, like clockwork, her ankles would swell up so much that her shoes wouldn't fit. She'd have to kick them off under the dinner table because the pressure was so uncomfortable. She mentioned it to her primary care doctor during a follow-up visit. He told her it was probably just water retention. Maybe she was eating too much salt. Maybe she should elevate her legs more often. He never connected it to the medication. He never thought to look deeper. And Patricia, being the trusting patient she was, accepted this explanation and tried to cut back on salt, tried to prop her feet up more. But nothing changed. The swelling continued. The exhaustion got worse. She started declining social invitations because she was just too tired. Her husband noticed she was taking naps in the afternoon, something she'd never done in her entire life. And then came that Tuesday at the country club when her body finally said enough, when her heart rate dropped so low, when her blood pressure crashed so hard that her brain wasn't getting enough oxygen, and she collapsed. The paramedics rushed her to the emergency room. The ER doctors ran every test imaginable. And that's when they discovered what had been happening all along. Her heart was being suppressed, slowed down, weakened by the very medication that was supposed to protect it. For a 67-year-old woman whose heart had already naturally lost some of its reserve capacity just from aging, adding a medication that further slowed everything down pushed her system into failure. Now here's what absolutely shocked me, and here's what should shock you too. When her doctors finally made the connection, when they switched her to a different class of blood pressure medication, something called an ACE inhibitor that works through a completely different mechanism, everything reversed. Within 8 weeks, her energy came back. The swelling in her ankles disappeared. She was back on the tennis court. Her heart's pumping efficiency improved dramatically. It was like watching someone come back to life. And all because someone finally asked the right question. All because someone finally looked at her as a whole person, not just a blood pressure number on a chart. Now, if you've been watching this for the last minute, and you've learned something that your own doctor never took the time to explain to you, if you're sitting there thinking, wait, I'm on a beta blocker too, or my mom takes that exact medication, or those symptoms sound exactly like what I've been experiencing, then I need you to do something for me right now. Click that subscribe button for Ever Young Seniors, because this channel exists for one reason and one reason only, to give you the information that you deserve to have, the information that could protect your heart, your health, your life. And if you won't subscribe, if you're going to watch this entire video, take this free, life-saving information, and then just click away. I need you to comment below and tell me why. I'm serious. Tell me why free information that could literally add years to your life isn't worth one single click. Because honestly, this matters. Your heart matters. And someone you love is counting on you to share what you learn here today. Now let me explain exactly what's happening inside your body when you take these medications, because once you understand this, you'll never look at that pill bottle the same way again. Your heart is a pump. That's all it is at its most basic level, a muscular pump that beats roughly 100,000 times every single day to push blood throughout your entire body. And this medication, this beta blocker we're talking about, fundamentally changes how that pump works. It slows everything down. It reduces the force of each contraction. And on the surface, that sounds like it should be helpful. right? Lower heart rate, less strain, less work for the heart. That's what the logic says. That's what made sense to doctors when these medications were first developed. But here's where the logic falls apart, especially for people over 60. And this is the part that most doctors either don't fully explain or don't fully understand themselves. When you're 70 years old, your heart has already naturally lost somewhere between 20 to 30% of its reserve capacity just from the aging process. Your heart muscle isn't as elastic as it used to be. The valves don't open and close quite as crisply. The electrical system that coordinates every beat has developed some wear and tear. This is normal aging. This happens to everyone. Your heart at 70 is not the same heart you had at 30, and that's okay. It's still doing its job. It's still keeping you alive, but it's working with less margin for error. So when you add a medication that artificially slows down that already aged heart even further, you're not helping it. You're pushing it closer to the edge of its functional capacity. You're reducing cardiac output, which is the amount of blood your heart pumps out with each beat. And when that happens, less blood reaches your kidneys, so they can't filter waste as efficiently. Less blood reaches your brain, so you feel foggy, dizzy, confused. Less blood reaches your muscles, so you feel weak, tired, unable to do the things you used to do without even thinking about it. Your body is literally being starved of the oxygen and nutrients it needs because the pump isn't pumping hard enough anymore. But there's a second problem with these medications that's even more dangerous, and this is what keeps me up at night. They mask your body's warning signs. Your body is incredibly intelligent. When something goes wrong, when your heart is struggling, when blood pressure drops too low, when you're not getting enough oxygen, your body has alarm systems built in. Your heart rate speeds up to compensate. You feel your pulse racing. You feel breathless. You feel anxious. These are signals telling you something is wrong. Go to a doctor, get help now. But beta blockers suppress all of that. They block those warning signals. So when something actually is wrong, when you're heading toward a medical emergency, you can't tell. Your body is screaming for help, but the medication has turned off the alarm bell. You don't feel your heart racing because the medication won't let it race. You don't feel the panic response because it's been chemically blocked. And by the time symptoms finally break through that pharmaceutical barrier, you're already in crisis. Let me give you a real example that haunts me to this day. I had a patient named Robert from Coral Gables, Florida, 72 years old, retired investment banker. Every morning for the past 15 years, Robert walked the same route along Miracle Mile. 4 miles, just under an hour, his daily ritual, kept him healthy, kept him active, gave him a reason to get out of bed. He'd been on Metoprolol for about 8 months, when one morning, about 2 miles into his walk, he suddenly felt lightheaded. Not terrible, just a little off. He sat down on a bench, figured he'd rest for a minute, then keep going. But when he tried to stand up, his legs wouldn't cooperate. Everything went gray. A passerby saw him slumped over and called 911. When the paramedics got there and checked his vital signs, they were horrified. His heart rate had dropped to 38 beats per minute. 38. For context, a normal resting heart rate is between 60 and 100. Athletes might get down to 50. But 38 is dangerously low. His heart was barely beating. The medication had suppressed his heart's natural pacemaker so severely that it couldn't maintain adequate circulation. His brain wasn't getting enough blood. His kidneys were shutting down. He was in cardiogenic shock right there on a park bench in broad daylight. And here's the terrifying part. Robert didn't feel his heart slowing down. He had no idea it was happening. The medication blocked all the warning signs until his body just gave out. And this is what people don't understand about aging and medication. After 60, your heart's electrical system becomes incredibly sensitive. The same dose of medication that works perfectly fine for a 45-year-old can be absolutely dangerous for someone at 65 or 70 or 75. But doctors often prescribe based on standard protocols, standard doses, without adjusting for age, without considering that your heart has been beating for 7 decades and doesn't have the same resilience it once did. They treat a 70-year-old heart like it's a 50-year-old heart, and that's where things go catastrophically wrong. Now, if you have parents or grandparents who might be taking this medication right now, if you're thinking about your mom who's been complaining about being tired all the time, or your dad whose ankles have been swelling, I need you to hit that subscribe button for Ever Young Seniors right now. Because this information needs to reach them. They need to know what to watch for. They need to know what questions to ask their doctors, and you might be the only person in their life who can show them this video. And if you can't spare 1 single second to click subscribe for content that could genuinely save someone's life, content that could keep your loved ones out of the emergency room, then I need you to tell me in the comments what stopped you. I genuinely want to understand what would make someone watch this far, see how serious this is, and still choose not to subscribe. What's holding you back? Tell me. But right now, before I go any further, I need to know something from you. I need to understand who's watching this video and what your situation is, because this isn't just me talking at you through a screen. This is a conversation. This is a community of people who refuse to be passive about their health, who refuse to just accept whatever they're told without asking questions. So here's what I need you to do. Go down to the comments section right now and write two things for me. First, tell me your age and what state you're in, just like this: 68, Arizona, or 72, New York, or 65, Texas, whatever applies to you. And second, tell me, are you currently on blood pressure medication? You don't have to tell me which one if you're not comfortable with that, just yes or no. Are you taking something for high blood pressure right now? Because I need to know how many of you are potentially at risk. I need to know how widespread this issue really is among the people watching this channel. And more importantly, you need to know you're not alone. When you scroll through those comments and see dozens, maybe hundreds of other people your age dealing with the same thing, taking the same medications, experiencing the same symptoms, it's going to change everything. You're going to realize this isn't just your problem. This is a systemic issue affecting millions of older adults across this country who trusted their doctors, who did everything they were supposed to do, and still ended up with hearts that are struggling. And while you're down there commenting, I want you to think about something else. Has your doctor ever actually sat down with you and explained exactly how your heart medication works? Not just, this will lower your blood pressure, but the actual mechanism? How it affects your heart rate, your cardiac output, your kidneys, your brain? Did they explain what side effects to watch for, specifically at your age? Did they tell you that the symptoms you might experience at 70 are different from what a 50-year-old might experience on the same drug? Or did they just hand you a prescription, tell you to take it daily, and send you on your way with a follow-up appointment in 3 months? Because that's what happens to most people. You sit in that exam room for maybe 10 minutes. The doctor looks at your chart, sees your blood pressure numbers, types something into the computer, and suddenly you're walking out with a prescription and barely any explanation. Maybe they said something like, "This will help protect your heart." Maybe they mentioned one or two common side effects like dizziness or fatigue. But did they really educate you? Did they empower you to understand what's happening inside your own body? Probably not. And that's not entirely their fault. They're overworked, they're rushed, they have 30 patients to see that day. But it is a problem. It's a massive problem when people are taking powerful medications that fundamentally change how their heart functions, and they don't truly understand what's happening. So go ahead, drop that comment right now. Your age, your state, whether you're on blood pressure medication. I read every single comment. I'm not just saying that. Every single one. Whether you're writing from Naples, Florida, or Beverly Hills, California, or a small town in Montana that I've never heard of, I want to hear from you. I want to know your story. I want to know what you're going through, because your experience matters, your voice matters, and the information you share in the comments might help someone else who's reading through them. Someone who sees your comment and thinks, "Oh my God, that's exactly what I'm dealing with. I thought I was the only one." And I'm telling you this because what I'm about to share with you next is going to completely change how you talk to your doctor at your next appointment. It's going to give you the exact questions you need to ask, the exact warning signs you need to watch for in your own body, and the exact language you need to use to make sure your doctor takes you seriously. Because here's the truth. Doctors respond differently when patients come in informed. When patients come in with specific questions, when patients demonstrate that they've done their homework, and they're not just going to accept a generic answer. So stay with me, keep watching, drop that comment, and let's make sure you're armed with the knowledge you need to protect your heart. Now, before you start panicking and thinking you need to throw away all your blood pressure medication, let me be very clear about something. The problem is not blood pressure medication itself. Blood pressure medication saves lives. It prevents strokes. It prevents heart attacks. It prevents kidney failure. These medications are essential for millions of people, and if you need them, you absolutely should be taking them. The problem isn't the medication category. The problem is getting the wrong medication at the wrong dose for your specific age and your specific heart condition. It's a matching problem. It's a customization problem. And unfortunately, too many doctors prescribe based on generic protocols without truly individualizing treatment for older adults. So, what I want to give you right now are three specific red flags, three warning signs that your current blood pressure medication might not be right for you anymore. And if you're experiencing even one of these, you need to have a serious conversation with your doctor as soon as possible. Not next month. Not at your next scheduled appointment 3 months from now. Soon. This week, if you can manage it. Red flag number 1. You feel dizzy or lightheaded when you stand up quickly. Maybe you're sitting on the couch watching TV, you get up to answer the door, and suddenly the room spins. Or you're lying in bed. You swing your legs over the side to stand up, and you have to grab onto something because you feel like you might fall. Or you're bending down to pick something up off the floor, and when you straighten back up, everything goes gray for a few seconds. If this is happening to you regularly, even once or twice a week, this is not normal aging. This is not something you just have to live with. This means your heart rate or your blood pressure or both are dropping too low when you change positions. Your body can't compensate fast enough. And the medication you're taking is very likely making this worse. This is called orthostatic hypotension, and it's dangerous because every time you feel dizzy, you're at risk of falling. And falls in people over 60 aren't just inconvenient. They can be catastrophic. Hip fractures, head injuries, broken wrists. One fall can change your entire life. Red flag number 2. You're exhausted all the time, even after a full night's sleep. And I don't mean normal tiredness at the end of a busy day. I mean the kind of exhaustion where you wake up in the morning and you already feel drained. Where simple tasks like taking a shower or making breakfast feel like climbing a mountain. Where you find yourself sitting down constantly throughout the day just to rest. Where you've stopped doing activities you used to love because you just don't have the energy anymore. If this sounds like you, if you've been telling yourself, well, I'm just getting older, this is what happens, I need you to stop accepting that explanation. Yes, you have less energy at 70 than you did at 30. That's true. But you should not be this exhausted. And what's likely happening is that your organs, your brain, your muscles, your kidneys, they're not getting enough blood flow because your heart is being suppressed too much by the medication. Your cardiac output is too low. Your body is operating in a state of chronic low-grade oxygen deprivation, and that's why you feel like you can barely function. Red flag number 3. Your ankles swell by the evening. You wake up in the morning and your ankles look normal. Your shoes fit fine. But by dinner time, by the time you're sitting down to watch the evening news, your ankles are puffy, swollen, tight. You press your finger into the skin and it leaves an indent that stays there for several seconds. You have to take your shoes off because they're cutting into your feet. This is called peripheral edema, and it's a classic sign that your heart is struggling to pump efficiently. When your heart can't push blood forward effectively, fluid backs up in your system and pools in your lower extremities because of gravity. This is not a salt problem. This is not a you need to elevate your legs more problem. This is a heart function problem. And if your medication is weakening your heart's pumping ability, this swelling is your body's way of waving a giant red flag saying, something is wrong here. Now, if you're experiencing any of these 3 warning signs, here's exactly what you need to say to your doctor. And I want you to write this down or take a screenshot of this part of the video because the specific language you use matters. When you call to make an appointment, don't just say, I'd like to come in for a checkup. Say, I'm experiencing symptoms that concern me related to my blood pressure medication, and I need to discuss whether my current prescription is still appropriate for my age. That gets their attention. That tells them this is not a routine visit. Then, when you're sitting in that exam room, look your doctor in the eye and ask these 3 questions. Question 1. Doctor, given my current age and my heart function, is this medication still the optimal choice for me, or should we consider alternatives? Question 2. Should we adjust my dose, or is there a different class of blood pressure medication that might work better for someone my age? And question 3. What specific symptoms should I be watching for that would indicate this medication is causing problems? Make them answer you clearly. Make them explain. Don't let them brush you off with vague reassurances. And here's the thing, this approach works. I've seen it work hundreds of times. Let me tell you about Margaret from Scottsdale, Arizona, 68 years old. She'd been on Metoprolol for 2 years, and over that time she'd gradually gotten more and more tired. Her ankles swelled every day. She stopped playing pickleball with her friends because she couldn't keep up anymore. She mentioned it to her doctor a few times, but he kept telling her it was just part of getting older. Maybe she should lose a little weight. Maybe she should exercise more. But Margaret finally decided she wasn't going to accept that answer anymore. She did her research. She came to her appointment prepared. She asked those exact questions I just gave you. And her doctor, to his credit, actually listened. He ran some additional tests. He checked her cardiac output. He looked at her kidney function, and he realized the medication was suppressing her heart too much. So he switched her to a different class of medication, an ACE inhibitor that works through a completely different mechanism. It still controlled her blood pressure, but it didn't slow down her heart rate. And within 1 month, Margaret's energy came back. The swelling in her ankles disappeared. She was back on the pickleball court. She felt like herself again. Now, if you're still watching this video right now, you're in the top 5% of people who actually care enough about their heart health to invest this time in learning. Most people would have clicked away by now. Most people don't want to know this information because it's uncomfortable. It's scary. It requires them to take action. But you're still here. You're listening. You're learning. And that tells me you're serious about protecting your heart. But here's the reality. Only about 1% of the people watching this will actually subscribe to Ever Young Seniors. Only 1% will take that tiny action to make sure they keep getting this life-saving information. So prove you're in that 1%. Prove that you're not just a passive viewer who takes free information and then disappears. Hit that subscribe button right now and join a community of people who refuse to be victims of a healthcare system that doesn't always put their best interests first. Now, I need to be absolutely crystal clear about something before we go any further, because the last thing I want is for someone to watch this video and make a dangerous decision. Do not, under any circumstances, stop taking your blood pressure medication without talking to your doctor first. I cannot stress this enough. Do not go to your medicine cabinet after watching this video and throw your pills in the trash. Do not skip doses. Do not cut your pills in half, thinking you're being smart by lowering the dose yourself. Stopping blood pressure medication abruptly, especially beta blockers, can cause something called rebound hypertension. Your blood pressure can spike dangerously high, sometimes even higher than it was before you started the medication. You could trigger a stroke. You could trigger a heart attack. You could end up in the emergency room in critical condition, and it would be because you stopped medication suddenly without medical supervision. So here's what you do instead. Here's the smart, safe, responsible approach that protects your heart while also giving you the answers you deserve. Take this video, and I want you to either print out the key points or write them down on a piece of paper. The 3 red flags we talked about, the 3 questions you need to ask your doctor, the examples of Patricia, Robert, Margaret. Write it all down. Make it concrete. Make it something you can hold in your hand. Then schedule an appointment with your doctor specifically to discuss your blood pressure medication. Not a rushed 5-minute conversation at the end of a routine checkup. A real appointment where you have time to talk, time to ask questions, time to be heard. And when you walk into that exam room, you take out that piece of paper and you have an honest conversation. You tell your doctor about every symptom you've been experiencing, the dizziness when you stand up, the exhaustion that never goes away, the swelling in your ankles, the way you can't do the things you used to do, and you ask those questions directly. Is this medication still right for me at my age? Should we adjust the dose? Are there safer alternatives we should consider? And here's what's going to happen. Most doctors, when faced with a patient who comes in informed, who comes in with specific concerns, who demonstrates they've done their homework, will take you seriously. They'll run additional tests. They'll reconsider your treatment plan. They'll work with you to find something that actually works for your body at your current age. And this approach works regardless of where you are or what kind of doctor you see. Thomas from Palm Beach, Florida, did exactly this with his cardiologist at one of the most prestigious medical centers in South Florida, and his doctor thanked him for bringing up these concerns because it prompted a full medication review that ultimately improved his quality of life dramatically. Jennifer from Napa Valley, California, had the same conversation with her internist, and they switched her to a combination therapy that worked much better for her 71-year-old heart. Richard from Martha's Vineyard in Massachusetts went through his entire medication list with his doctor, and they discovered he was on 3 different drugs that were all working against each other, essentially canceling out their benefits while doubling their side effects. And here's what strikes me about all 3 of those examples. These are wealthy people, people with access to the absolute best healthcare money can buy, people seeing doctors at top-tier hospitals and exclusive private practices, and yet they still didn't know this information until they specifically asked. Their doctors, despite all their credentials and expertise, had never sat them down and explained that medication protocols need to change as you age. that what worked perfectly at 55 might be dangerous at 65, that your heart at 70 is fundamentally different from your heart at 50, and your treatment plan should reflect that reality. Because here's the broader principle that applies to every single person watching this video, whether you're 60 or 70 or 80 or 90, your body changes as you age. That's not a revelation, you know this. You see it every time you look in the mirror. Your skin changes, your joints change, your muscles change, your metabolism changes, everything changes. So why would anyone think your heart stays the same? Why would anyone think the medication that was prescribed when you were 55 should still be the exact same medication at the exact same dose when you're 75? It makes no logical sense. Your body has evolved, your heart has evolved, your medication should evolve with it. But the reality is, most people stay on the same medication for years, sometimes decades, without anyone ever reassessing whether it's still appropriate. They just keep automatically refilling that prescription, month after month, year after year, assuming that if it was right once, it must still be right now. And doctors, because they're overwhelmed and understaffed and seeing too many patients, often just keep prescribing the same thing, because it's easier than reevaluating, because the patient isn't complaining loudly enough, because the blood pressure numbers on paper look acceptable, even if the patient's quality of life has completely deteriorated. So if this 3-minute video has given you more clarity about how your heart medication works than your last cardiology appointment did, if you now understand your own body better than you did 5 minutes ago, if you feel empowered to actually have a real conversation with your doctor instead of just nodding and accepting whatever they tell you, then I need you to subscribe to Ever Young Seniors right now, because this is what we do here. We give you the information you need to be an active, informed participant in your own healthcare. We cut through the medical jargon and the pharmaceutical marketing and the rushed doctor appointments to give you truth, clear, actionable truth that you can use to protect yourself and the people you love. And if you won't subscribe, if you're going to take all this information, all this time I've invested in teaching you something that could genuinely save your life, and you're still not going to click that button, then I need you to tell me why in the comments. I'm genuinely curious. Is free heart health education that could prevent you from collapsing like Patricia or Robert not worth one single click? What's the barrier? What's stopping you? Because I need to understand if this content is actually valuable to you, or if I'm just shouting into the void. Tell me in the comments. I want to know. So let's recap what you've learned in the last 3 minutes, because this is information that could genuinely change the trajectory of your health for the next decade or more. One medication, a beta blocker that's been prescribed commonly for decades, trusted by millions, approved by every regulatory agency, but it can weaken aging hearts when prescribed at doses that don't account for the natural decline in cardiac reserve that happens after 60. And now you know exactly what to ask your doctor. You know the 3 red flags to watch for in your own body. You know the specific questions that will get your doctor to actually listen and reassess your treatment plan. You're not powerless anymore. You're not just a passive patient accepting whatever you're told. You're informed, you're empowered, you're ready to advocate for yourself. But here's the thing. This information isn't just for you. Think about the people in your life right now. Think about your parents if they're still living. Maybe they're in Hilton Head, South Carolina, enjoying retirement. Think about your aunt or uncle in Aspen, Colorado. Think about your neighbor in La Jolla, California, the one you wave to every morning. Think about your best friend from college, your sister, your brother, anyone in your life over 60 who you know is taking blood pressure medication. How many of them know what you just learned? How many of them understand that their medication might need to be reassessed based on their age? Probably none of them. They're walking around right now with the same blind trust you had 10 minutes ago, taking their pills every morning, assuming everything is fine, not realizing their heart might be struggling. So here's what I need you to do right now. Before you close this video, before you move on with your day, share this video in your family text thread, send it to your parents, send it to your siblings, send it to that group chat with your high school friends. It takes 5 seconds. 3 minutes of their time watching this could prevent a hospital stay. It could prevent a fall. It could prevent a cardiac emergency that nobody saw coming. You have the power right now to potentially save someone's life, and all it requires is clicking that share button. That's it. That's all it takes. And when you subscribe to Ever Young Seniors, you're not just subscribing to a YouTube channel. You're joining a community of thousands of people who refuse to be passive patients. People from Greenwich, Connecticut, to San Francisco, California, who demand better answers from their doctors. People who understand that aging doesn't mean accepting decline without question. People who believe they deserve to know what's happening inside their own bodies. People who are living proof that being informed, being proactive, being willing to ask hard questions can add years of quality life that they would have lost if they just stayed silent and compliant. So right now, go down to the comments and tell me 3 things. Tell me your age, tell me what state you're in, and tell me one specific question you're going to ask your doctor this week based on what you learned here today. Are you going to ask about your medication dose? Are you going to ask about alternative medications? Are you going to ask about the symptoms you've been experiencing? Write it down. Make it real. Make it a commitment. And I will reply to as many comments as I possibly can in the next 24 hours. I want to hear from you. I want to know your story. I want to help guide you toward the right questions for your specific situation. And if you've watched all 3 minutes of this video, if you've absorbed all this information, if you now understand your heart and your medication better than you did before, but you still won't take 1 single second to click that subscribe button, I need you to be honest with yourself about what that says. It tells me something about how you value your heart health. It tells me something about whether you're serious about protecting yourself or if you're just passively consuming content without any intention of taking action. And if that's you, if you're the person who takes free, potentially life-saving information, but never gives anything back, not even a subscription that costs you nothing, I genuinely want to understand your thinking. Comment below and tell me why. No judgment. I just want to know what's going through your mind, because maybe I'm missing something. Maybe there's a reason people watch content like this and then just disappear without engaging. Help me understand. Your heart has beaten approximately 2.5 billion times to keep you alive from the moment you were born until right now, this very second. 2.5 billion beats without you ever asking it to, without you ever thinking about it, working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for your entire life, without ever taking a break. And every single one of those beats was for you. To keep your brain functioning, to keep your lungs breathing, to keep your organs working, to keep you here, alive, present, able to hug your grandchildren, able to watch the sunset, able to experience everything this life has to offer. Your heart has given everything for you. So now it's your turn. Protect it with knowledge. Protect it with questions. Protect it by refusing to accept generic answers when your health is on the line. And if you're still not subscribed, after everything you just heard, comment "not yet" below and tell me what content would finally convince you. What would it take? Do you need more stories, more medical explanations, more practical advice? Because if 3 minutes of potentially life-saving information about how your heart medication might be harming you wasn't enough, I need to know what is. What would make you finally click that button and commit to staying informed about your heart health? Tell me. Help me give you what you need. Because at the end of the day, this channel exists for one reason: to help you live longer, healthier, and better. And I can't do that if I don't understand what you actually need from me. So talk to me in the comments. Let's build this community together. And I'll see you in the next video.